This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Good evening and welcome to the news tonight. I'm Sanjay Pinto. What a day it is for bureaucrats in Tamil Nadu. It's a roller coaster ride yet again for the top echelons of the bureaucracy here in the state, especially senior police officers. The new AIDMK government has effected a major shake-up in the Tamil Nadu police. Some of the very senior officers have been shunted out to the boondocks, as it were. Some of the senior officers were holding plum positions in the previous AIDMK regime. But of course, Amma seems to have chosen yet again a brilliant set of officers. That's what many observers have told us. Sebastian George is back at the helm as Additional Director General of Police, Tamil Nadu Law and Order. That's the number 2 slot in the state police. It seems that the AIDMK chief and the chief minister has also retained talent from the previous DMK dispensation. 2 officers outstanding by any stretch. Sanjay Arora will remain in the city. He was Additional Commissioner of Police Headquarters in Chennai and Crime. He is now the new Chennai Traffic Police Chief, a no-nonsense officer. So the next time you don't wear your helmet, I can be sure that you're going to be fined. There's going to be no holds barred enforcement of traffic rules here in Chennai. We'll also have to see whether they will review those one-way systems that were introduced by the previous regime. Also, T. Rajendran, who was the Chennai Police Commissioner during the DMK regime, was momentarily sent to the Prisons Department in a mutual transfer with J.K. Tripathi, who is now the Chennai Police Chief. He's been brought back in a very sensitive post as Additional Director General of Police Intelligence. That's the State Intelligence Chief, somebody who will always have the ears of the Chief Minister. A very sensitive post, and one is not surprised because Mr. Rajendran, in fact, was the DIG of Intelligence during Ms. Jayalalitha's previous regime. So he's a trusted hand there. He is now the State Intelligence Chief. But also, several top officers of the previous dispensation have been sidelined, like Jafar Seth, like Sangaram Jangid, like P. Sivanandi and K. Radhakrishnan. Many believe that officers in Tamil Nadu, it's very difficult. Even at 8 o'clock, you saw Mr. Naresh Gupta saying that it's very difficult to be a bureaucrat in Tamil Nadu. You inevitably get branded one way or the other. And some of these officers who've held plum positions in the previous government have in fact been shunted out to what many would say are punishment postings or insignificant positions to hold. But all that news coming up with Evelyn Matthew, who will bring you the headlines. Evelyn?
Thanks very much. Let's take you through the top stories we're tracking at 9 tonight. The Tamil Nadu State Police is in for a major reshuffle. Former COP T. Rajendran now takes over as the ADGP Intelligence, while Sebastian George is the ADGP Law and Order. Clues emerge about missing Tamanna's whereabouts. Eyewitnesses from Marina Beach say they last saw her with a fortune teller in the city. Top police sources say Tamanna could be in the temple town of Tirupati. A search is on in Andhra Pradesh. Can the Kings from Chennai walk over the Tuskers from Kerala? The M.A. Chidambaram Stadium hopes for a 7-on-7 win from the home team. In a shocking discovery near Villupuram, an unidentified bag carrying a newborn's body is left unattended at a railway station. The DMK raises a stink over Praveen Kumar's guest appearance at Jayalalitha's swearing-in, but sources in the Election Commission said there's nothing wrong. The Sri Lankan government offers an olive branch to the new Chief Minister, this despite a history of Amma asking for the President to be tried for war crimes. A middle-aged prisoner at the Pudal prison hangs himself at the campus. A post-mortem is ordered. An actor Srikanth tunes into a new character in his new flick, a crime thriller journal, but will it survive at the box office? Let's also bring you the rest of the day's stories nationally. Rahul Gandhi's open challenge to Mayawati, even as questions are raised on his claims of torture of farmers by her government in Greater Noida. Family sources back police version that Dawood Ibrahim's brother was not present when his bodyguard was killed in a shootout. Sources tell NDTV otherwise. Hours after warming up to him at a public function, B.S. Yediyurappa tells NDTV the governor has to go. And Shane Warne fined $50,000 for his spat with Raj board official, but escapes ban. In the top story tonight, there has been a major reshuffle within the state. This time among the men in khaki, 25 officials overall have been transferred from across the state of Tamil Nadu. Over to our executive editor, English News, Sanjay Pinto, for a perspective into these new postings and the new men in charge. Sanjay, something that was quite expected with Ms. Jayalalitha taking charge?
Absolutely, Evelyn. In fact, she was straight off the block with important postings on day one itself with J.K. Tripathi, who took over as Commissioner of Police on the day she was sworn in, just hours after she was sworn in. In fact, Sheila Priya taking over then as the Secretary 1 to the Chief Minister. Sheila Rani Chunka, an old hand in the Home Ministry, somebody who was Home Secretary earlier, back in the saddle as Home Secretary. And of course, Debendranath Sarangi, Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu. Now, one must give credit where it is due. Ms. Jayalalitha is always known to pick the best brains in the bureaucracy. As we know, in Tamil Nadu, it's the Chief Minister who holds a portfolio that controls the IPS and IAS officers in the state, the backbone of the administration of the state. If you talk of good governance, remember you need to choose the best officers that you can possibly get in the civil services. And let me take you through some of these postings now. In all, 25 postings have come today. And let me tell you, this is only the beginning. An avalanche will follow because there are several other departments, several other vacancies there that need to be perhaps changed or filled. Sebastian George, let's go to him first. Sebastian George is the new ADG Law and Order. He will get control of Mike 2 in the Tamil Nadu Police. The number 2 slot he really many said earlier that he was in the race also for Commissioner of Police of Chennai, but of course that went to J.K. Tripathi. But this is through an all Tamil Nadu turf that he will have to operate with. Mr. George, if you remember, was part of that sensational midnight arrest of senior DMK leaders, in his case Murusuli Maran, and when the DMK came to power, he was shunted out to the boondocks to vigilance officer of a transport corporation in Nagarkoil. He was left there for almost 5 years, and in the last couple of months he was brought back to Chennai. No consolation at all. It was the Human Rights Department. Now, he seems to have been rewarded. This is almost a trend. Both the Dravidian parties, those who are sidelined in the previous dispensation, are brought back. This is not to suggest that officers who have been transferred or officers who have been brought back are loyalists of one party or the other. We must make it very clear. Officers are All India service officers. Many say in the bureaucracy that some of them allow themselves to be branded, but by and large, they do get inevitably sort of the taint of one particular party or the other. Sebastian George is known to be a very professional officer, a gutsy, courageous officer who in fact is highly educated with degrees abroad. Now he's back here at the helm when he say to where he belongs. The next officer, of course, is T. Rajendran, as we said earlier, somebody who is an old intelligence hand really. He was also zonal director of the Narcotics Control Bureau, and some of the seizures of heroin during his stint really went up. So somebody who walks the talk. He was a good police commissioner as well, but this time around will have the years of the chief minister as intelligence chief. Extremely crucial in the present scheme of things. Then you have, of course, the top brass of the Chennai police. It seems that Mr. J.K. Tripathi has had a big hand in the selection of his team, which is how it should be. The police commissioner choosing his own team, the captain of the state, Chennai police, city police force. Look at his trusted lieutenants, his second in command, as it were. Tamarai Kannan is the new additional commissioner of police, law and order Chennai. He replaces Shakil Akhtar. Sanjay Arora, again, Ms. Jayalalitha, as I said earlier, has not transferred everyone just because they were in the previous dispensation. Sanjay Arora, somebody who's credited with very good traffic management, remains in the city, and he's your new traffic police chief. So, as I said earlier, if you're going to violate a stop line or any other overspeeding, Sanjay Arora is not going to let you off so easily. You'll be fined or booked as well. Abhay Kumar Singh, the new additional commissioner of police crime, that's in the place of Sanjay Arora. Joint commissioner is very interesting, very, very significant selection here. Shanmuga Rajeshwaran, somebody again who was shunted out when the DMK came to power. Shanmuga Rajeshwaran is an old hand in the Chennai police. He was Deputy Commissioner of Police Gindi. He was Deputy Commissioner of Police Mailapo. He knows South Chennai like the back of his hand. A tough officer. So all those criminal gangs will have to really go into hiding now that he's back. K. Shankar, somebody who was on deputation, is the new Joint Commissioner of Police Central Zone. So if you live in Ananagar or Egmo, he's your senior officer there who you can approach for help. And Sentamarai Kannan, the new Joint Commissioner of Police North Zone. North Zone is known to be a hotbed of crime. Several of the criminal gangs operate out of there. So they are sure to have to run for cover now that you have tough officers here at the helm in the police commissionerate. Now, as I said earlier, officers who've been sidelined. Radhakrishnan, former ADGP Law and Order, is now the head of the vigilance wing of the Tamil Nadu Electricity Board. Many, in fact, wonder earlier there used to be posts of chairperson of the State Tourism Development Corporation. Now, of course, Tamil Nadu Electricity Board Vigilance. Some wonder whether you really need an IPS officer for these posts. Jafar Seth is now going to the Mandapam camp. Refugees, in fact, if you remember earlier, AX Alexander, the intelligence chief, earlier was sent to the Mandapam camp. Then, of course, he made his way back. He clawed his way back and he became DGP under Ms. Jayalalitha. Again, a tough, no-nonsense officer. S.R. Jangid, who was the high-profile suburban police commissioner. Of course, he was transferred out before the elections. There were complaints against him. The Election Commission had to intervene in that case. He is now Chief Vigilance Officer of the Tamil Nadu Transport Corporation and will be based in Nagarkoil. Also, P. Sivanandi, former IG of the West Zone, that's the Coimbatore belt, is now Chief Vigilance Officer of the Tamil Nadu Transport Corporation. There are also almost the entire setup, the team of Deputy Commissioners in Chennai have also been replaced. Notable among them, T.S. Anbu, who is now the new Deputy Commissioner of Police, Flower Bazaar. Very sensitive post. Remember that agitation, remember that standoff with the lawyer community there. In fact, during the elections also they had held up posters. Many of the lawyers held posters of that battle inside the court, the lawyers attacked by the police. So this is going to be a very strategic post. T.S. Anbu, who's been in the city police earlier as well, will be the man on the hot seat in Flower Bazaar. One important challenge for him will be to reach out to the lawyers so that the lawyers and the police, function as two hands of the criminal justice system. And one really hopes there's a good rapport that can be built in the coming months. Also, Asra Garg, remember, does that ring a bell? Asra Garg was the superintendent of police of Madurai, who came under fire for the DMK but stuck to his guns. Asra Garg seems to have been rewarded, brought back. He was also ADC to the governor, remember earlier. Brought back as a new DCP. He's brought off Ananagar. So if you're in Ananagar, he is the officer to contact. It's also known to be a VVIP area with several top politicians living there and bureaucrats as well. So Asra Garg is the man who will man the hot seat from there. So very interesting postings. Evelyn, we'll also have to see the postings in the IAS, of course. Also suburban commissioner. There are several other posts like the zonal IGs which will have to come, and also several other IG postings which will obviously be replaced in the days ahead. And IAS, who will be the health secretary, who will be the education secretary. There are several important posts, several top officers, very talented here. But by and large, one must say, in defense of the bureaucracy here, if you compare Tamil Nadu with other states, and as someone who's really covered the bureaucracy extensively here on NDTV over the last 14 years, I can tell you have some of the most accessible officers, in Tamil Nadu, and it's with a sense of excitement that we actually report these postings and transfers, because you find now that there's this new culture of being accessible. Even Ms. Jayalalitha at the top, setting an example, telling the media that she will meet us once a week. So one really hopes that that all the officers are just as accessible and continue to be so. We'll have to wait and see how the IAS postings also come. But this is a major shake-up, a big reshuffle in the police administration. Remember, Ms. Jayalalitha had said that law and order is the biggest priority, and she seems to have already meant business by choosing what many believe are the ideal hands for sensitive posts in the police department here in Tamil Nadu. Evelyn?
Right, thanks very much indeed, Sanjay, for joining us with those inputs. A sign of lots more to come, and all of that will be tracked right here on NDTV Hindu. Thanks very much indeed for joining us with that. Now, meanwhile, in the political scenario, the DMK may not have been present during the grand swearing-in of the new Chief Minister, Ms. J. Jayalalitha, but they were certainly watching with a close eye. The DMK is now up in arms over the appearance of the CEO of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Praveen Kumar, who attended the swearing-in. Election Commission sources have now said that it is left to an individual officer whether to attend the swearing-in ceremony or not, and that there was nothing wrong in attending the ceremony. It was a Tamil Nadu cadre, IAS officer, who attended that ceremony, and later on the Election Commission in fact didn't really want to come on record regarding that. Well, Sanjay Pinto, our executive editor, English News, was joined by the former CEO Naresh Gupta and senior journalist Jnani, who took up the big question about whether election officials should keep away from ceremonies. And here's what they had to say.
Is there anything wrong, first off the block, sir? Anything wrong? Would you have attended the swearing-in ceremony when you were Chief Electoral Officer? Or is it a case of much ado about nothing, sir?
No, actually there are no guidelines or instructions from the Election Commission of India whether the state chief electoral officer should or should not attend these functions. An invitation is generally extended.
The invitation is extended not by any political functionary, but by the chief secretary of the government. So anything wrong in that? The chief secretary, and it's an important point you're raising, sir, that there is no model code of conduct, as it were, for election commission officials, their do's and don'ts.
Yeah, actually the invitation is extended by the state government, that is specifically the chief secretary or the secretary public department. So it's an invitation from the state government, and there is no really bar to the chief electoral officer attending functions or ceremonies. He had not called on in any case the chief minister designate before the swearing in or the chief minister after the swearing in. Probably what may have provoked this kind of criticism is the fact that some AIDMK people had expressed their appreciation of the way the elections were conducted, and maybe that was the reason, but actually there is nothing wrong in his attending the program or the function for which he had got the invitation. If the program had been held in Raj Bhavan, possibly the invitation might have been issued from Raj Bhavan, in which case again it would have been all the more important that he should have attended or participated in the program.
All right. Let's go across to Mr. Gnani. Mr. Gnani, do you see anything wrong in this? Is the chief electoral officer well within his rights to attend that function? It's after all a solemn event and he is a constitutional functionary.
Definitely not. I think it's quite fair that the election commissioner or the chief electoral officer attending the swearing in ceremony. But the swearing in ceremony, we have to understand, is the swearing in of the chief minister and the cabinet. And once elected, the chief minister and the cabinet are common for all the people of Tamil Nadu. So the main opposition party leader is expected to attend. All other political parties are invited to the function. So which means it is a neutral government official function. So everybody must be able to attend, and nothing wrong in the chief electoral officer attending it.
All right, Mr. Gupta, to you now, sir. When you were chief electoral officer, there was a similar storm that was raised, in fact, because you didn't call on the then chief minister. How did you feel then? Did you feel sort of targeted in a sense?
Yeah, actually what had happened was the general assumption is that if the chief electoral officer calls on a political leader, the chief minister wears two hats. He is the chief minister, apart from that he is the leader of a political party. So if he calls on the chief minister or the leader of the ruling party, the fear is that he might be viewed as one who can or should receive instructions from the leader of the ruling party, who happens to be the chief minister, which will detract from his independent functioning. So that is why it was appropriate that he avoids calling on. Also there might be criticism from the other parties that he had called on only the ruling party leader, and thereby he is close, he is having proximity to the leader of the ruling party. So that is why it was appropriate that the chief electoral officer should not call on the leader of the ruling party, who may happen to be the chief minister, of course, of this state.
All right, let's go back to Mr. Gnani now. Mr. Gnani, does it send wrong? The DMK seems to suggest that it sends wrong signals. They've been alleging in the run-up to the elections that the chief electoral officer, they've even attacked the election commission, saying that the powers should be curtailed in a federal setup, and that in a sense the fact that they've lost this election, that it vindicates their stand that the particular officer was perhaps biased against them. Is there any merit in this argument at all?
I would rather say this is atrocious, and DMK is trying to find some lame excuse for losing the election. In fact, their spokesman, Mr. T.K. Ilangovan, very funnily said that spectrum was not the reason for their defeat, and even a child in Tamil Nadu would say otherwise. And so they are now finding out lame excuses for their defeat. and trying to make a scapegoat of the chief electoral officer. On the other hand, let us look at what DMK's own track record on this. Mr. Naresh Gupta would remember that very much, because Naresh Gupta did not meet either Jayalalitha or Karunanidhi when they were chief ministers, even as a courtesy call. He said that was not required of him. For this, Chief Minister Karunanidhi at that time issued a press statement condemning Naresh Gupta. That was the first time the election officer was condemned by a sitting chief minister. And it is very funny that Karunanidhi, who expected chief electoral officer to pay courtesy calls on him, is now objecting to a chief electoral officer attending a formal function.
All right. There seems a contradiction there, what you are suggesting. Yes, Mr. Nani, also, should chief electoral officers, should key election commission officials actually live in splendid isolation during this model code of conduct period and remain aloof completely from the rest of the world in a sense?
No, the point is, this is a formal government function where the new cabinet and the government are sworn in. It is beyond party politics. And look at the Chief Justice of the High Court and the various judges of the High Court. They all attend this function. Does it mean that the Chief Justice and the judges would be biased in deciding cases against the Chief Minister? It does not mean that.
All right, that's a very interesting point that you've raised, Mr. Nyani. Mr. Gupta, there were several other constitutional functionaries. You had several judges of the Madras High Court who were also present. So clearly, it's not just it's not just Mr. Praveen Kumar who is attended. Why do you think he's been singled out in this case? Because the same argument can hold good for other constitutional functionaries as well.
Actually, it's a bit difficult, embarrassing for me to answer this because I cannot go into the politics. What happened, as you mentioned also, that in Tamil Nadu there's so much of political rivalry, hostility, that any action taken will be viewed with favor or disfavor by the two parties. So if it helps them, it will be viewed with favor. If it goes against their interest, then it will be viewed with disfavor. So
either way, you are damned.
The official functionaries can become the target, can be targeted by one or the other party in Tamil Nadu. It's very well pronounced and very much prominent in this state compared to other states. Unfortunately, it's very the degree is too much in Tamil Nadu.
All right, so you won't encourage your son to become an IAS officer?
Yeah, he in any case he has chosen a different line and
probably seeing what you've been going through, sir.
Yeah, I again it becomes it's a question of one. I mean, some people may think that this is a challenge, so we should face the challenge. Some people may think, why get into all these complications, so why not choose a professional line?
All right. Let's go back to Mr. Nyani. Mr. Nyani, this personal rivalry that even Mr. Naresh Gupta has just spoken about. Now, even if you look at, overseas, look at the US presidential election, look at Obama and McCain, McCain greeted him. Obama reflected that in his address, that victory speech, saying that he received, to quote him exactly, a magnanimous and a gracious call from Senator McCain. They do greet each other, they exchange pleasantries, they attend each other's swearing-in ceremonies. Why is it so different here in Tamil Nadu, sir?
Yes, Sanjay, all this happened only with Karunanidhi and MGR. Before that, it did not happen. It started only between Karunanidhi and MGR, who took it as a personal fight. And after the death of MGR, it continued with Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha. There was a small refreshing change in between. If I remember rightly, in 2001, when Jayalalitha took over, I remember Stalin and Anbalagan then attending the function, which was very unusual and a welcome thing. I wish they had done it this time also. At least Stalin could have attended on behalf of DMK. And it will be good if it happens, but if it doesn't happen, it only shows that DMK is not willing to change, and which is bad for itself.
All right, actually when you mentioned that, I remember that those images, I was covering that, in fact, beaming Ms. Jayalalitha walking down the aisle, greeting Stalin and Anbalagan who were present. Extremely gracious of them to have also attended that function, but just when we thought that all was well, then there was a huge controversy again kicked up there about the seating arrangement. And don't forget, a few years ago, a union minister's name was printed on an invitation of an ADMK function without his permission, and that also became an issue. So when do you think this political nitpicking will ever cease?
Yeah, these small bickerings continue to happen. These have to be overcome, and I think in Tamil we always say that one single hand cannot clap. You need both hands to clap. So all the sides have to come together to clap. Only then it can happen.
Well, news and updates continue on NDTV Hindu. We'll be back in just a bit.